I like, click, subscribe, do all that. You all know what time it is. It's Netflix time. Vincenzo, episode 2. Spoiler alert, let's get it. Last we left off, we had this bitch ass nigga hanging off at their life. He pulls him back up, but before he goes back on his word and unleashes the troops, the cops came by and interrupted all this madness. Afterwards, Vincenzo and Lee Chan have a meeting with his daughter and the secretary in the room. He goes on telling them his actions were reckless and whatnot. Cha's complaining about herself getting caught in the crossfire. So anyway, Vin walks out with Cha. She's like, why are you getting so worked up about their clients? The thing is, she don't know about Vin and, his client, Mr. Cho, had got into some serious business. Which I'm assuming he's pretty much dead after what happened in episode 1. Well, anyway, that conversation was more about competition. Meanwhile, the tenants are gathered around trying to figure out who they could trust because their building's always up for grabs at this point. Okay, so remember that lady that was dancing in the laundromat last episode? Turns out she's actually a prosecutor for a law firm. Her job at this particular place is to make the guilty look less guilty. Now, don't get me wrong, she don't take no shit and she gets paid her money, but the company makes her like pretty much a lapdog at this point. Basically, she's got to make impossible shit possible. Next, we see Vin at the hospital and holy shit, Cho actually survived, yo. That's crazy. Yeah, remember when that car smashed into him? Turns out he survived it. So then we get that flashback to when Vin, Cho, and Amora was all in that room again. And he was explaining the dynamics of the building, like how one person was trying to go for something the wrong way, then the charges would collapse and explode on somebody. I mean, he going basically how once he got there, it would take at least 2 days to remove the gold before destroying the building. Well, apparently he took that secret to the grave because 1 year later after that meeting, he ended up drowning in his own pool. So the only people now that know about the gold are Vin and Cho. At least they think anyway. Later on, he goes back to the Buddhist temple room because, the room under that has the gold in it. And some of the tenants come through to get some training done. Vin tells them they should get like some type of mat or something. I don't know what the reason is for. Bottom line, he just don't want them suspecting nothing. But he thinks this guy senses and knows all. Fortunately for him, he doesn't know about the gold. Or does he? Anyway, back at the firm, they're still dealing with some lab assistant stuff back at the company. That company, Babel, E&C, or something like that. Then we have this cop again, still trying to talk to his superiors about breaking down Vincenzo. But once again, he don't give a rat's ass about any of that. The chief says as long as he does it with his own money, do whatever you want. He's like, alright, fine. He thought he had money in the bank. Apparently he did not. Gotta check your bank statements often, fam. Lee Chan's watching the news. I'm not exactly sure what report he was watching. Him and Vin have a one-on-one again. Lee Chan gives up trying to fight it, so he's like, alright, I'll trust Vin with this stuff. So then he gives him all the paperwork. So basically, he's about to work on how to gain the property back. Meanwhile, they're pissed off at the pharmaceutical company because one dude is trying to blab his mouth. They're trying to apologize, but they don't understand the risk at hand. Chai's like, look here, keep that motherfucker under control or I'm going to lose this damn case and a lot of money. So anyway, as they're walking out the meeting, she meets the president himself and all his associates. Vin's back at the office doing research on the entire company, and Lee Chan's just gonna let him do it. Meanwhile, back at her office, these motherfuckers are ordering Mayun to make this case look better against some dude. I mean, they're talking about a guy that had like 13 counts of fraud, but they need her to make it look like it's only like 10 or something. Bottom line, it's like she's their lapdog, and it comes to a point where she don't even feel like they respect her. Anyway, Cha gets back to the office, her daddy's office with Vin, and she can't even stand the fact that they're working together. Well, anyway, she steals him away for a minute so he can get something to eat. But the cook shuts down his restaurant because he's so embarrassed about what happened last time. He goes over to the snack shop, but she's like, I ain't feeding him shit. But because Cha's there, he gets his meal. I guess you could say they can have an intimate conversation, but not really. They are spending a lot of time with each other in this episode, though. Well, anyway, her son comes home from school, and she's about to start kicking his ass because he smells like cigarettes. She ain't allowing that shit. He starts running and knocks over a Vin's plate by accident. This guy can never get a break when it comes to food. As Miyeon is watching her employers go, you could tell she's gonna find a way to get some revenge or something. But as they're leaving, all of a sudden, Cha's boss pops up and he wants to talk to Miyeon. So basically, at this point, he's trying to recruit her. So for one, his sales pitch is fire, and two, she's trying to get back at her employers. So you know what? She's gonna take the job. There's also another reason why he wants her to take the job too, but that will be left for another time. Now I'll just go ahead and say he probably tried to give her the business. Then all of a sudden we're shown this hockey ring. So I guess the boss of Babel E&C is talking to his boss. And because he messed up, the boss is smacking him with hockey pucks and shit. We never really get a good look at his face though. I tried, it's the best I could do. I'm sorry. Then, while Vin is sleeping, we get a montage of all this mayhem and destruction he must have caused back in the past. Or at least back in Italy, by the way. Yeah, it's just a bunch of just abuse and who knows what the hell he's been through being part of the mafia. So he wakes up in the morning and goes right to the chef's place. I don't know if he enjoys his trash-ass cooking or just the expressions he sees on his faces. He knows it's bullshit and still gives him money for the food anyway. I don't really get the obsession. I'll figure it out eventually. So then Vin goes to Lee like, man, you come with me, we gotta finish some shit. So they get to the building and Lee is like, come on man, there's no way he's gonna want to talk to us. And of course the lady tried to dismiss him until he said something about illegal abortion papers. that the dude signed off on, and of course they let him up. Yeah, this motherfucker that tried to buy him off the last time. The funny thing about it, there was no papers in there, the folder was empty. But Vin was on to the fact that this guy sent the goons in there to make Cho sign off on the papers. And then he gets certified G on them talking about, if we were in Italy, you would be fertilizer for the vineyards. And you wouldn't be worth a 2-for-1 sale for a bottle of wine. Lee Chan likes the way Vin does business. So Lee Chan kind of gets a sense of what Vin's about, and he actually trusts him a little bit more. Later on, Mion's back at the office with the executives, and she basically flat out tells him she quit, like, fuck this shit. And gets Ghost to toss all that shit. And now they're meeting at Chonhurst firm, and there she is. He's so sliced up, yo. But somebody's not really all that grandioso about someone being here. She's like, man, that bitch ain't got no experience like me, what the fuck? But you gotta understand, Chai, he also hired her for other reasons. Back at the plaza, you got the crew pretending to be zombies for some reason. And they're looking like, what the fuck is this? They say they're practicing for the Train to Busan 2 promo. Yeah, alright, sure, let's roll with that. So Lee and Vin go out for a drink. Then she starts talking about the lady in the past, the one she represented a long time ago, the one that killed her boss. He knows she didn't do the crime, but she played guilty anyway, and on account of her, like, she doesn't want to be saved because she found she has pancreatic cancer. He says he thinks she's atoning for it because of abandoning her son in the past or something like that. Then Lee Chan gets a phone call from this guy. Who is he? I have no idea yet. Whoever it was hung up and didn't say anything. Back at the office, everybody pretty much thinks they won the Bellbro pharmaceutical case. But Cha doesn't believe that wholeheartedly, simply because of one person. But little do they know, they about to get hit with some more shit. Next day, Vin is completely hungover. Lee Chan over the phone laughing at his ass like, man, I'll fix you something to eat, come on over. Apparently, Vin straightened himself out quick before getting over there. Then he looks on the wall and sees old pictures of Cha. She had a little bowl cut when she was getting her lawyer degree and going fishing. One picture, she's staring at this little flower bush. As high-strung as she is, I'm pretty sure she'd be embarrassed if anybody saw her in that light. So in the room, Seihan is listening to his boss' conversation about the demolitions will take place at 11. 11 tonight. Yeah, the demolition on their plaza. Obviously, he goes back to let Cha know. And Cha doesn't want to care, but she knows her father's stubborn, so she's got to let him know. Vin and Leah just enjoy themselves at this point in time. Cha comes busting in the house before she could tell the news. She sees Vin there. She starts taking down the pictures off the wall and shit, like he hasn't seen them already and shit. So out the blue, Lee has to take a phone call. He's actually talking to one of the guys that escaped the Babel facilities. So I'm guessing that was the guy that called him the other night. He wants to give him some information, but it's too hot to tell over the phone, so he tells him to meet him at a certain address. So Lee Chan dips out, and throughout all the commotion, she forgot to tell him about the demolition that's supposed to happen at 11 tonight. Back to Cha and Vin again. The conversation is not that intimate, but you can tell that she's kind of feeling him. Like I said, they've been spending a lot of time with each other in this episode. Lee goes over to meet the lab tech guy on a boathouse, no less. What happened in there? We have no clue. Back at the spot, everybody's worried about their living arrangements and what they're supposed to do and where they're supposed to go. Meanwhile, Vin is on Instagram likes and doing all this, liking thoughts and whatnot. They're like, how the fuck is this going to solve our problem? Then we get this cop that's been trying to track down Vin for a little while. And he finds a match on something. I'm not sure if he matched up his passports or credit cards or something. I guess he found some information, so you know, he's sliced up. Meanwhile, Vin comes to the office, and Lee Chan finally got the message about the demolition coming at 11. The boss and Mion are having dinner. See, I told you he was trying to tap them cheeks, but then he gets interrupted by one of his employees saying that the Babel company had refused to do something. So they don't waste time, they get up out of there. Cha's still at the office reading up on stuff, and she gets to the point that she's convinced her father won't move anywhere. He'll mess around, be buried with everything. So, she can't let it go down like that. Time to save Dad. As she's driving, she sees other trucks getting down there. Tractor trailers ready to go. But when she gets there, she's surprised to see that they're hosting a party right in front of the building. And of course, after a while, she realizes Vin was the one that set the whole thing up. Unexpectedly, the cop happens to be there. What's he gonna do? And then we get a moment where she's staring at him. He's looking at Lee Chan saying, I told you this shit would work. After it was all over, he's back in his spot, always flicking that lighter. So back when he was looking up Instagram stuff earlier, he was like, yeah, let's just throw a party. Which they didn't know his name was technically big enough to make that shit pop. And then we get the stare down. Yeah, you can tell. But like I said, they've been each other the whole episode, so you know what I'm saying? See, my face had to get it cleaned up and all that good shit. Honestly, I just cut my mustache wrong. I fucked it up, so I had to cut the whole thing off. My hair grows back quick. Trust me, don't worry about it. Sleep easy out the easy, mister. Yeah. Big. Good goddamn slogan.